My wife of 40 years was one of the very first women on a Navy ship, and I served with her. There were over 1,000 men and 100 women, and I lucked out. The ship has now been decommissioned and is in mothballs in Norfolk. But if the FBI crime scene would ever visit that ship to some of the spaces me and her frequented, to get us some alone time, and they had a black light, it looked like we were slaughtering cattle in there or something. Our son is one of the youngest, if not the youngest, guy to ever get through Navy SEAL training. He was there at 17. Yeah. He turned 19, 21, and 22 on combat deployments in Iraq. He has propelled himself to the most elite of the elite teams in SEAL team. He's been in endless gunfights, has suffered incredible injury, and recently got on the wrong side of a grenade, and he's been medically retired. My wife could not make it down here. We have a farm and a charity. Somebody has to look out for that. But I traveled with a very good friend of mine, a staunch supporter of the wounded guys that we take out hunting down there, and that's my good friend Greg Scott. Could you stand, buddy? Yeah, Greg. Greg jotted down a few notes about himself and wanted me to say those tonight. Greg's single. He's 50. He's handsome, strong, and vibrant. He has a good job, and he's a Republican. His turn-ons are holding hands, cuddling, walks on the beach, and kicks. He's in room 412. Tonight I'll be talking about stolen valor, but before I do, I'd like everyone to take a minute and think of all the dating website commercials they have seen on TV. And at the end of this, I'm going to ask for a couple of guesses of which one you think is the one most plagued with stolen valor. Which ones have the most military imposters on them and military con men duping women. And I'll ask for that when I conclude my speech. But I started a training course years ago called Extreme SEAL Experience in Chesapeake, Virginia. And guys would come from all over the world for me to kick their ass for 2 weeks. Helicopters, the machine guns, we did everything. And we had an enormous rappel tower. And I was rappelling those guys off of that tower one hot July day, fast roping them, and we came back home to eat supper. And my wife comes running out of the house with her cell phone and she starts screaming, "It's Jay Leno, it's Jay Leno, he wants to talk to you." A lot of you don't know that Jay Leno is a very staunch supporter of the military. He's the Bob Hope of our area. He's a very generous guy. And what everybody knows about Jay Leno, he's got a huge car collection. And his head mechanic contacted me and he said, "Jay is palling around with 2 guys that claim to be Navy SEALs, and he is lavishing them." And he said, "I don't believe that claim." And I quickly checked, verified, gave him the letter, they're both phonies. And well, he went running to Jay with that. And he also showed Jay a number of my YouTube videos. And Jay calls, and he said, "I'd love to get you on the Tonight Show." He said, "But this is dark stuff. It's not my call, it's my producer's call. And he's going to call you in a few days. And think up your best stuff that you've dealt with, and we'll make this thing happen." Well, that hot July day, his producer called me back 20 minutes later, and I couldn't think of anything funny about any of this stuff. Some of you might know me as the Phony Navy SEAL of the Week guy on YouTube. My YouTube channel is for my SEAL training class, Buds 131. Over 50 million video views of fake Navy SEALs. Some of you now might know me by my new YouTube channel, Former Buds 131, after YouTube kicked me off for calling that Nathan Phillips clown a liar. Nathan was that American Indian elder that had the confrontation at Covington High School last January with the boys at the Lincoln Memorial. Phillips claimed he was a Vietnam vet, and the press jumped all over it and made the videos taken there look like the boys were taunting and harassing him when Phillips was the antagonist with a long history of trouble at protests. The media in its rush to post the story about Phillips took Phillips at his word that he was a Vietnam vet, and they attacked those boys ruthlessly. I pulled Phillips's military records in a matter of hours, and the closest he ever got to Vietnam was being a refrigerator repairman in the Marine Corps stationed in Kansas before they kicked him out for repeatedly going AWOL. I posted my own video up on YouTube of Phillips and told the truth. It caught a lot of media attention really quickly. After my video went up, CNN settled out of court in a lawsuit brought by the boys. They're also suing the New York Times, the Washington Post, and Fox News for calling them racists, and the extreme torment their shoddy reporting cost their families. Since it cost me a YouTube, I thought I might share in that settlement, but I've never heard from the boys, but I do know they know who I am and appreciate it. I'm one of the very few SEALs entrusted with the SEAL database. The database contains the names of all the men in our bloody 77-year history. It contains a little over 18,000 names in that 77 years that ever graduated underwater demolition or Navy SEAL training from World War II to guys graduating training today. Entrusted because the database is not secret. SEAL training is an unclassified Navy school. Everyone knows where it's taught, and everyone knows what's taught there. But it is sensitive, and it will never be posted anywhere that just anyone can check a name. People contact me through phone, email, social media with a name of someone claiming to be a Navy SEAL, and I simply check that name in the SEAL database. I do these 15 to 20 times every single day. Sometimes over 50. Some that I can't even get through all the verifications that day when the guys killed Bin Laden, Somali pirates, something like that. And maybe one in 100 of those claims turns out to be an actual legit Navy SEAL. Of those 18,000 names, and so many of those guys being World War II and Korea vets that have since died, we estimate there's fewer than 10,000 men alive on this planet that ever graduated that training. And your chances of bumping into a living, breathing Navy SEAL are about as good as getting a coach ticket on some airplane and sitting next to the Pope. Navy SEALs are the #1 targeted group in this nation for professional. Nobody out there is claiming to be accountants, plumbers. They're all claiming to be Navy SEALs. And I was recently asked, in the 6 or 7 years I've been doing this, how many verifications I've done. And just simply doing the math, at just 10 a day, times 30 days, times 12 months, times 6 years, it's over 20,000 false SEAL verifications that I've taken care of. I've also become an expert in recognizing fraudulent or altered DD-214s. And I've posted numerous examples of them when I get them on my website. And there is no shortage of knuckleheads that search the internet for fake DD-214s and find my website and call me wanting me to help them make a fake DD-214. And I always have my camera ready to record that, and I put them up as the fake DD-214 meter dudes and blast them all over the internet.
Yeah.
The posts that I do of these guys, making fun of them, are entertaining, but the problem is serious and widespread. And it is especially a problem for charities, as they are a favorite target of phonies. I have busted endless clowns frauding charities, from luxurious retreats to having houses built for them, to giving them expensive vehicles, from extraordinary fishing trips to elk hunts. They line up to dupe those charities. One of the most widespread charity fraud are service dogs. Because when you're a phony and you can dupe a charity into giving you a genuine service dog, your whole line of crap story becomes so much more believable to people. And it's easier now for you to fraud more charities because of that. When I contact these charities and ask them, how could you have let this happen? The answer is always the same. We did not want to offend that guy by asking for proof, and they should have. Another big problem are the invisible injuries. When you see a vet without limbs, severely burned, disfigured, the charities are on some safe ground, pretty safe ground. It's the invisible injuries, the traumatic brain injuries and PTSD they claim that are a big problem, and thorough checking needs done. A bigger problem still is how good these morons get at perfecting those lies over the year. If you or I ever got caught in a lie, we'd want to hide under our bed in shame. It's not those. They use that as a learning point to better their story for the next time they use it. And they get very good at it. That's how these guys make a living. That's how they eat. I got my start in stolen valor after I was duped by a phony, and I got angry. When I got done exposing that guy for all his lies, he went to prison for 3 years for wire fraud. He's not the only one either. Wire fraud for receiving checks and having them electronically deposited in his account for the VA for benefits he was not entitled to. Stolen valor is not a new phenomenon. It dates back to Valley Forge, Gettysburg, Bellawood, Iwo Jima, Chosin Reservoir, and Khe Sanh. But those lies from the guys that never served in those battles or never served in that war, they were only able to project it a few bar stools down their local pub. And that all changed in 1991 when the internet became public. And now they can be anyone they want to be for the entire world. I don't avoid saying I was a SEAL, but if I met someone, it would take you about 5 questions before I told the guy. Ask, well, what do you do? And I'd say, well, I'm retired. They'd say, oh, retired from what? Oh, I'm retired from the Navy. Oh, what ship were you on? Oh, I wasn't on a ship. Well, where were you assigned to? Little Creek, Virginia. Well, what did you do? I was a SEAL. It's exactly the opposite with a phony. He will extend his hand to you, whether it's a SEAL claim, a Marine claim, a Special Forces claim, and immediately start yakking to you with these endless fairy tale combat stories. And an immediate tell by a phony is when they say it's classified. And if you ever hear someone say it's classified, you take your finger and you shove it in his eye as hard as you can. You will quote a phony 100% of the time. Is there any guess to the worst dating website, the one that dupes the most women? No. I'm sorry? Christian Mingle. Christian Mingle. And why is that? They hide behind this religion all the time. It drives me nuts. Oh, he's a Christian and he's a Special Forces guy. This must be legit. And the gals that contact me want to verify. I can read the way they write, and I'll say, did you find him on a dating website? Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. And those guys that wear that crucifix and mention God and Jesus in between their lies are #1 on my hit list for a keyboard spanking from me. A few years ago, my wife and I began extreme SEAL adventures on our farm in Cambridge, Maryland, where I take the wounded guys duck and goose hunting. But I pale in comparison to the great work and longevity of Stride's 30-plus year amazing run, and impressive, wonderful work, and the tireless effort in trust but verify every applicant that comes here to ensure this great institution is not taken advantage of by those who would steal from all of them and all of you. Mary Ellen, I'm flattered and honored to have been invited. And I hope I can hold your great example of high ethics to my own charity as time goes on. And I'm very sure Steve Penachek, if I start slacking off, will go straight up my nose to get that back. And while I'm honored to have been invited, I'm much more honored to be in the presence of all of you and the many sacrifices you and your families have made in the struggles you've all endured. Your strength is obvious, and I wish you the very best good luck in your futures. And I will vigorously defend your valor and sacrifice from those who would steal that until I close my eyes for the final time. And when I do someday close my eyes for the final time, I hope it's in a goose blind, blowing a goose call with my cherished wounded guys. Be safe.